I don't know about you, but I haven't seen a ton of new game mechanics in the last decade or so. I've seen new ways of combining previous mechanics, which is great because, of course, when you take old mechanics, put them together in a new way, I know the mechanics, so I got something new, but it's also easier for me to learn. And maybe designers these days have a hat with a little piece of paper in it, and they just draw mechanics, and they're like, okay, roll them right, okay, I like that. You cut, I cut, you choose, and whatever, area majority. And that's maybe what writer needs you just pull those three things from a hat and decided, oh, there you go, Marabunta. Because Marabunta is precisely this kind of game, a I cut, you choose, roll and write game in which you cut and choose and write, and ultimately you're trying to achieve area majority in these regions here. That's yes, that's kind of like an anthology of mechanics that we know very well. It also so happens some of my favorite mechanics, because I love roll and write and I like area majority. I cut, you choose. I don't play it as often, but you know, why not? So we have a board here, a general board where we're gonna write numbers to try to have the highest score in each region, and that's how you score. And then each player also has a personal board in which you will you will mark these supply crates that will unlock special abilities. You will mark cupcakes from left to right, and after a while there are points for it, and you have your personal scoring track. These personal boards are double-sided with different abilities on the two sides. The main board also is double-sided with different configurations for the regions. And as long as the two boards are facing the same, it can be either side, of course, so by mixing and matching you have up to 4 possible configurations. We have dry erase markers, red versus blue, the archetypal struggle in gaming. You have these tiles, so you place this tile here on the table, always, and then you shuffle the other tiles, forming a stack, so the tile that I showed you is always at the bottom. And then we have 6 dice, each corresponding to the color of a region on the board, purple, greenish, and so on and so forth. As I said, I cut, you choose mechanics. So each round we're gonna draw a tile and make it visible. This tile will give 2 supplies to whoever player collects it. And so if the player collects it, they mark any 2 supplies on the personal board. And other tiles have simply different kinds of advantages. So use a die twice, write 2 zeros on the board, write a single 0 but anywhere you want. After we reveal a tile, the active player rolls the dice and then split them into 2 different groups, and the tile is one of the elements that is gonna be split. So for example, I decide to split dice and tiles like so. If I did the split, the opponent does the choosing and say they choose that, and then that is left for me. The next round, of course, the other player will roll the dice and make 2 sets that include some dice and the tile, and I get to choose first, and so on and so forth. And when you get to choose, you also get to activate your things first. Suppose that I'm the first player this time, and these are the components that I have. So I need to mark things down. Now, these dice show numbers 1 to 3 in a certain color, a banner of that color, orange in that case, and then we have a supply symbol. That's the self-explanatory, mark a supply somewhere. And that's it. Math? No, of course, we have a wild 0. That's why it's like empty. Now, the numbers, you're supposed to write them in the corresponding regions. So I should write a 1 in yellow and a 2 in orange. They need to be adjacent to other numbers that you have already marked. And that includes the first round. So like, what? Twice per game, you can use an anthill. That's not very thematic, but basically you have 2 spaces, you fill one in, and you're allowed to break the rule about adjacency, so I can now write my very first number without it touching anything. And again, then, well, now because of that, I can place the 2 in that region there because it's adjacent to something that I don't have. If you cannot place a number because of adjacency rules, well, too bad, then you just wasted that die. And the 0 can be placed in any region because it's empty, but still respect the adjacency rule. And so, for example, I decide to place it here like that. And that's the general idea. Other symbols. If I use a banner, I fill in a dot in the little leaf that is associated to that one. And what else? Supplies. Again, supplies will unlock special abilities on your player aid. And when I fill in all of the boxes next to a certain advantage, then I immediately gain that advantage. So if I crossed out those 2 crates there, I immediately get to write a 1, respecting adjacency rules, unless I use an anthill. Oh, and if I cross out a space with a cupcake, I get a cupcake. Cross them out from left to right, score points possibly. If I cross out a space with a supply, I gain that supply. So as the game progresses, people will unlock and use special abilities, fill in spots in the leaves, and again, write numbers on things. The game will be over, but one of several things will happen. For example, if we went through all the stack of tiles, the last tile is this one. That means whoever takes it gets to remove a cupcake that still hasn't been used from the board. And one thing that triggers the end of the game, for example, is if there are no cupcakes left on the board, and that's every game I played, that's how it ended. Another rule may be if you fill in all the numbers in a region. In any case, when the game is over, we check each area and we see who has majority. Here, for example, 5 versus 2, blue gets to score points from that. How many points you score? The number of dots in that region. So in this case, blue scores 3 points because of that. Ooh, blue also has majority here. They score 2 points. They're already 2 dots printed. Can't erase them. 2 dots printed in each region. So it's the minimum that you're going to score. But again, by using banners, you may be able to increase the value of a region for you. Of course, then you also need to score it. Otherwise, what is the point? Total the points that you gain from majority of the regions, added to points that you hopefully have already scored from other sources, such as cupcakes or simply special abilities, and the player with the highest score wins the game. When I see a small box, short rules, 2 players only, somehow my mind immediately thinks, filler. This is not the case, not in terms of length, strictly speaking, because it takes about 30 minutes to play. In terms of rules, maybe, but definitely not in terms of intensity. This game can be intense. The friend I played it with described certain phases as agonizing. He said, oh my God, I love when you cut and I get to choose. Of course he does, because I'm not very good, so there's always something good for him to grab. But it says, but it's agonizing when I have to cut and then I would choose. It can be very intense. And again, I played it less intensely than my friend, but I still found that the experience can be indeed very intense because it's very oppositional. Now, of course, every 2-player game is zero-sum, but there are games that are a little more like a parallel race. Here, oh no, I'm definitely, everything I take is obviously taken from you. Not just that, but I'm gonna obviously place it right where it hurts the most. And so you're gonna see, actually, there's a very strong, very important spatial element, because you're gonna try to figure out not just what kind of combinations you can place, but also where you place them, so you're blocking access to the other player. The other player doesn't have a anthill anymore, doesn't have the ability of unlocking supplies that let you ignore the adjacency rules. Then, well, there's a white die and you don't have any access to white, so I'm gonna place it there. So it's useless to you, So you're probably going to leave it back to me. That's why I'm putting it together with something good. So that now I'm giving you the choice that I hope is agonizing for you between, taking a white die, which is useless, and getting something else good, or leaving it behind, but it's good to me. A lot of different decisions go into such a simple, such a nice idea. And again, a cut you choose is a mechanic that I've seen, not one of the biggest mechanics, not like worker placement, but every time that I played it, I found it nice and enjoyable. But this has to be my favorite game with that one. Maybe Bequest, somewhere up there, is also very good. It takes a little longer to play, it's a little more complicated, but and also again less aggressive, less confrontational. This one felt like very deep, very intense. Again, I suggest you play it with somebody who is okay with very oppositional, very confrontational, very cutthroat. As simple as that. It's a cutthroat game. Don't be fooled by the cute ant and the cupcakes. Those cupcakes are poisonous. And if there is a way of sealing somebody out of a certain region, stealing majority by one, or at least tying for majority, because in a tie no one gets it, you should go for it. Two-player games are very often play with your spouse kind of games, but unless you enjoy sleeping on the couch, I do not know that you should really consider for that. Again, as a generalization, I know in my family that I would have to sleep on the couch, even if I lost, just because I tried to win the way the game asks you to, which is get majority and destroy the opponent's chances of scoring. With the right person, with the right partner who can take the intensity, this is a really fun and fine game. I was impressed by a design that has so many layers, so much interaction, so many things going on and decisions about the timing in such a small package physically and with such a small rule set. The fact that we have variety in how you set up or which side of the board you use, both the map and the personal boards, added even more interesting angles to it. So, not for everybody, not every day maybe because it is intense, but overall I find Marabunta to be a very remarkable design.